Man, man. Where do I begin? First off, I want to welcome everybody to the 2-4 podcast. I am your host, Christian. I'm one half of the Wonder Twins we got going on. My boy Dylan, he'll be on later. He had going to work. Um, so I'm gonna be holding it down for now. We're gonna make another video later on today. So make sure you guys look out for that. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, like, comment, and hit the notification bell. Um, well, man, where do I begin? Raiders and Titans going into this game, both 0-2. Nobody wants to be 0-3. The broadcast even brought up the stat that if you're 1-2, you got 25% chance of making it to the playoffs, and if you're 0-3, you got 2.5%. And thing about the NFL, it's much like baseball, where there's such a uh, storied league going on for 100 years now, that these things like tend to play out the way history dictates it. So as a Raider fan, we're all, I know I'm not alone. We're all pretty down about this, but we gotta hopefully keep hope alive, and we can be the exception to the rule. Um, Today was tough, man. We're on the road. Uh, Titans, they came with that energy right off the bat. Both teams know what's at stake. Um, Not to say that the Raiders didn't know, and therefore they were weak in their approach or whatever, but you could tell that Titans really, really wanted it, especially being at home. That made today's game that much more difficult, being that we're not gonna have our our fans behind us. And I mean, there were some fans, but it's not like let's say we were playing one of the LA teams, where we're gonna have that support, because Raiders used to play there, and we're basically all over Cali. So that's not the situation here. We had to go all the way to Tennessee, and so it was a steep hill to climb. I gotta say that I was really impressed with our defense. It was a really big task, I would say, to try and contain the Titans offense with all those things, playing a factor of, being down 0-2. And so I felt like, they were gonna do everything in their power to get Derrick Henry going, because he didn't have a good game against the Bills. And so, man, it's just so hard to talk, man. It's such a disappointing loss. There are some bright spots. There's always things that you can look at to hang your hat on, and that's why I'm bringing up the defense. I thought they did a very good job. They were much more disciplined than they were the first 2 weeks. First 2 weeks, something that I've been saying now since the beginning of the season is, costly penalties, or bad things happening at the wrong time. And I felt that did not really play a factor for the defense. Like, I would say the first two games, it was definitely there for the defense, but I mean, these guys did a phenomenal job. I got to give a shout out to Divine Diablo. There was a few times where he really stepped up and made things difficult for the Titans. Man, uh, it, it was nice to see a interception. Because I think last week we had one and it got overturned. Um, so the fact that we're out there uh, making it hard to throw on and block and stuff, that was a positive sign. Those are things that you can build upon. And trying to slow down or completely stop Derrick Henry is no easy task. I mean, there's a reason why he's nicknamed King Henry. He's a force to be reckoned with. But where, for me personally, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys would agree with me, is the offense. The offense was, to me, the letdown. You know, I just mentioned penalties at the wrong time, just shooting yourself in the foot, man, self inflicting wounds. The offense did us no favors. There was quite a few plays, especially in the second half, man. Our offensive linemen just getting penalties called right when we're getting things going, getting to a flow, and just making something that would have been, a short and first be a lot longer, you know, like Mac Hollins making, I think it was Mac Hollins, he made a great catch and he ran that thing. Yeah, it was Mac Hollins, and he juked his defender, uh, well, not juked him, but spun him around, and he, man, monster yardage. To only get 15 of those yards taken back because um, our offensive lineman had an unsportsmanlike called on him, and those things, especially with knowing that you're 0-2 for the season, those things, like, they can't be done, man. Like, you got to be very disciplined. That's another thing that I keep bringing up is, you know, the undisciplined things that you do during the game come back and bite you in the butt. Those are the things that you look at. Those are the things that cost you wins. And now we're down 0-3. And, why is that? I mean, we've done a good job of doing positive things on both ends of the ball. Yet we find ourselves, when we do get penalized, it's at the wrong time. Those things just cannot happen. Those are inexcusable. And coach, I don't know if he's not coaching these guys hard enough to drill it in their head. I mean, he's got drilled in their head to do your job. He's taken that motto from New England, and he's got these guys, saying the right thing. As long as we do our job, we'll be okay. But part of doing your job is not costing the team, drives. We we could have had this thing in the bag, man. I feel like there was at least on one of those drives where we kicked a field goal, could have easily not have been a field goal, and we could have been in position to get into the red zone. But penalties, and those things like mess up, the groove of things. Having the confidence to keep doing all those really great things that you were doing, um, to march down the field when you have penalties, man. Sometimes they're a big time gut punch. Like they really take the wind out of you, and and that's unfortunate because it makes it hard for other guys on the team to get going because they're like, oh my god, here we go again, bro. Like we're over here having to pull a miracle, um, or somebody's over here like stressing that if I don't do this, like we're screwed. Like Cole, how he dropped that ball in the end zone. I mean, he he really wasn't impeded in any kind of way by the defender. I mean, he it was all on him. But who put him in that position to have that much pressure to where a guy that doesn't get opportunities like that has to step up and make a play that is probably just outside of his comfort zone. I mean, I get that he's a pro, and that he needs to get that done. Trust me, I know that better than anybody because I put high standards on teams and players because I really pay attention to winning organizations, and I get that if you are gonna really make it in this league, you have to step up and make plays like that. But sometimes the amount of pressure that gets mounted on you to make a play, even something as easy as that, becomes kind of like really hard for you mentally because of so many things that the offense did throughout the entirety of the game to basically make that play all on the line. You know what I mean? Like somebody like Waller or Devontae, they can handle that and shoot. Mac Hollins could have handled that with the way he was playing. I mean, he even did it. He did it. He's the one that scored the touchdown for that 2 point play. And or sorry, that's a different play. But but he scored a touchdown that kept us in the game. And he got first downs for us that kept us in the game. So he was ready for it. But Cole was not, man. He wasn't the way he was I could tell before that play happened. I could tell that some of the missed opportunities that he had was starting to really get to him, and like he would shake it off and do his thing, but oh man, I feel more comfortable putting on the line with someone else over him, especially since he wasn't able to deliver. The last couple times that they um, tried to get him the ball, and it's not to punish him or anything. It's just that other guys were a lot more effective. Like if you had to give it to a lesser name, I mean, I would have been comfortable giving it to Foster Moreau. He was doing some big things. Um, but at the end of the day, I think this goes on the Raiders offense, and Josh McDaniels is the one that is the mastermind of the offense, and so coach and the guys on offense, to me, take the L. more so the offensive line, and a little bit on Derek Carr. I mean, well, when you're the quarterback, you have to take blame, even if you have an outstanding game. Like where I give Carr, you know, quite a bit of the blame is Devontae Adams. Like you need to get him the ball more. You need to come up with plays that can actually like be devastating to the other team's defense. Like this is the third game now that they keep trying to do this handoff to him that just does not work. They keep trying to do the same kind of trick play, and I mean on one of the trick plays it did work, and that was one that they were trying to do where you pitch it to your running back, him tossing it back to the quarterback. That play, I think that's like the second or third time now that they've attempted it, and this time it worked. But they definitely have tried giving Devontae the ball off of a motion and handoff, and it hasn't worked. Like they need to quit it with it, man. Like this guy needs to be running routes. It's the whole reason why you pay him the way that you pay him, and it's the reason why you traded for him and stuff. Like you gotta take advantage of that. Like back in the day, way back in the day, back when the Raiders were really not that good. there was a they were talking about taking advantage of some of their speedier guys, and um, their defensive tackle. Uh, Man, I can't remember his first name, but his last name's Kelly. He said, he said, you gotta let these guys run, man. You gotta let these guys do the thing. It's like having it's so bad. He's like it's having like a big old thing of chicken and not eating it. You know, like he was trying to make a point of like you need to utilize these guys. Otherwise, what are you doing? Like with Devontae, you got this guy that is considered by pretty much everybody that watches the game as the number one wide receiver, just hands down. And yet, this is the second time where he he didn't have a big game like he did game one. You know what I mean? This is I can't remember what he had last game, but this game he only had like 36 yards. That's inexcusable. So Derek needs to get on the same page with Devontae. Devontae's being a real good teammate, real good soldier. He's saying the right things before the game when he talked to the media, and they were trying to bring up, what happened in game two and the lack of production, like going towards him. Um, he was saying the right things, but he's here because he believed that it would be a much better situation than what he was having in Green Bay. But, he's been winning in Green Bay. They might not have won a Super Bowl, but they've gone to the playoffs. They've had winning seasons. And he has put up tremendous numbers. when he was there. And, you know, game one showed that it wasn't because Aaron made him, it was because he's that good. So we need to utilize him more. We need to take advantage of what we got. And, I'm pretty sure that's not all on Derek. I'm pretty sure that that's partly on Josh McDaniels. So the three of them need to get together. And then on top of that, the O line needs to get their butts kicked by the coaching staff. And I know Derek Carr is a very loving and peaceful person, but my one gripe against Derek that is like really big is that he doesn't do what Tom Brady does, and some of the other great quarterbacks will tend to do, which is they kind of go psycho on guys that they need to wake up. He's not lighting a fire under their butt by saying, "Oh, you'll get them next time." I mean, dude, there's a time to say something like that where it's more of coming from a calmer place, and then there's times where you definitely need to chew a guy out, and it's not coming from a bad place. You can do that in a way that doesn't create a problem in the locker room. There's a way to do it where a guy will be like, I needed that. I needed somebody to be like a drill sergeant, because it's not that I wasn't taking it serious. It was just more so that I needed to take it up another notch or two, because what I'm doing isn't enough. If we're going to win and be successful and do the things that we need to do, I need to take it to another level. I need to find it within myself. But I'm not going to find that if someone is coddling me. And I feel like Derek does that sometimes. The other thing that I'll put on Derek is the obvious 2-point conversion. That's another thing where throughout his time on the Raiders, I've brought up. And my boy Dylan will back me up on that when we do the part 2, that there are times, and it's always the inopportune times, where Derek doesn't make the throw like the right way. Like, even if that, who was it, to Darren Waller, even if that was the right person to pass it to, it's the way you throw it. It's the way you try to deliver that ball. And his delivery, a lot of times, is stuff like that. Stuff that will get picked off. Stuff that is just like, dude, you can't do that. Especially with something as urgent as that, dude. Like, your season is literally on the line. I know for guys in the league, they're probably not buying into that, narrative of just because we're down 0-3 doesn't mean that we're out. No, yeah, you're not out, but even if you had a good hot streak, if you lose like another game or two, you're done for. Like, you didn't give yourself any cushion. And I know that the schedule maker didn't do you any favors by making your schedule so hard in the freaking beginning, but it is what it is. And you knew you weren't surprised by who you had in front of you. You weren't surprised that you had the Chargers. You weren't surprised that you had Arizona. You weren't surprised that Titans were after that. It didn't they didn't hit you last minute, bro. They told you a long time ago. So like, the fact that we're doing all this like catch up stuff, like, oh, I'm trying to catch up these offensive linemen to be playing better right now. Like, that's part of my problem with the fact that we didn't play our ones in the preseason. Like that was so stupid. I get you don't want to have injuries, but I mean, you could have just had the dudes play for a quarter every preseason game, and they just the reason why you need it is because you need guys running at 100. You get what I'm saying? Like you need them to go against another guy that is actually trying to make plays. Because even if they're not going against another team's ones, they're at least going against somebody who's extremely hungry. That's the part that scares teams about, this whole injury thing is that the fact that there's a lot of guys that are trying their damnedest to make a roster. And because of how hard they go at the game, they tend to cause the injuries to players. It's not like they did it intentionally, but it happens. And not there's not enough like practice that can get you ready for actual game time stuff. And the only way you can get better off of something that is game time related is by actually having game time. The fact that we're kind of using the beginning part of our season almost as what would have been our preseason is like crazy to me. If that makes sense to you guys. We we're definitely in a hole. But like I said, there were some bright spots, man. I got some stuff up here to look at. Like, the fact that we had Josh Jacobs available. I mean, I thought that was pretty amazing. Like, the dude was sick, and then if you guys listened with the broadcast on, they talked about how they had a moment to talk to Josh, and he said he wasn't feeling great, that he wasn't going to be he didn't really feel it in him to have too many back-to-back plays, to go do an entire marching down of the field like that would be kind of hard on him with the way he was feeling. Who knows what he was sick with, but I definitely know when you get hit with a really hard cold or a flu, shoot, even trying to recover from a 24-hour bug sometimes, like getting food poisoning, man. Sometimes that stuff is really hard to like try to manage the following day. Like sometimes you need some time of being actually healthy to recover, like a day or two. And so for him to do that, and he had some great runs in there, man. I like seeing this. I don't know. It feels like a different Josh Jacobs because I felt like his first, actually every season, but this season, he was more so a power guy who was just trying to like bang into everybody and run them over and stuff like that. He was kind of like the poor man's. Why did his name escape me? Dude from the Browns. Well, he was like a poor man's version of that, man. Dude, I'm so bad today. It's this loss, man. It's messed with me. But him, his play today has really impressed me. Like it has so far this season. Where I see this patience that reminds me of L. Bell, because Le'Veon would see what the offensive line was able to do with their blocking, and see where the defense is coming from before he decided to burst out of the line of scrimmage, and I'm seeing that from Josh, and I never saw that before, or if I did, it was rare. And when he does get his attempts, he's getting nice yardage every time, which is really nice because in the past, like, he would have some nice long runs, but then it would be like followed up with some really really short ones, and so his average was more so just averaging out the long runs versus the really short ones, and they came somewhere in the middle. And with the way he's running now, it's almost like no, he really is guaranteed to give you 5 6 yards every carry, which is saying a lot because like our offensive line still isn't that great. I mean, we traded for another guy to help out with this offensive line, and that's it's saying something that they're still trying to retool and patch up this offensive line because it's not doing its thing. And it sucks that as Raider fans, we have to see this addressed during the season still. And you wish that it was done week 1 and that was it. But this is what it's come to. Um but for someone who wasn't feeling very well, 13 carries for 66 yards, for 5 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry is really nice. um I was kind of hoping to see more from Brandon Bolden because week 1 especially, he was like all over the place. Like this dude was catching things, he was running things. He looked he looked really good as a second running back, and um he was a little bit of a letdown today, but hopefully next game, if he's getting really utilized, um hopefully he can make up for not doing as much. But he did have 3 carries for 17 yards. So I mean, he was doing something, but I was kind of expecting more, especially with still hearing that even with Josh being available, I was expecting more because he still wasn't feeling great. He wasn't 100%. But the person who I've been saying it, man, like preseason, and I know we didn't start doing this podcast in the preseason, and there was reasons for that. It was more so because we're not seeing any of the ones, and so we decided not to do it, and we wanted to just start covering the Raiders once the season started because we didn't really realize how much of the roster was going to be used. Like the Raiders are using all of the backups, man. It's crazy. But Mac Hollins, man, I've been bringing him up every week now, and this guy is playing really great. I don't know if it's because of the offense, like the play calling, or if it's because of the amount of talent, or the fact that this guy's been on a few teams already, and he's like feeling like, yo, man, I need to really put in this work because if I don't, dude, I can find myself just being a practice squad guy until they're done with me. But he has been playing phenomenal this game. 8 catches for 158 yards, and he's still doing special teams, man. And he almost prevented the touchback on that one punt. And I I'm loving his game. I love his size. I love his athleticism. he has shown me nothing but great things this season. It really reminds me when we brought in Darren Waller, and Darren couldn't stop impressing. He was impressing everybody every game. It wouldn't surprise me if like Mac just becomes like a true number two and leapfrogs Hunter Renfro. Like it wouldn't surprise me, man. And again, I really don't know what it is. It could be all three of those things that I mentioned. It could be that like because of his urgency of trying to make sure that he's not a practice squad guy and he's on a legit active roster, like he really dedicated himself to the craft and also to the playbook and has made himself a threat. Like, yeah, I get that, Derek has not really been honing in on Devontae these last two games, but when he's kind of had to give it to Mac, there's a couple plays where it felt like he had no choice but to throw it Mac's way, and Mac wasn't even expecting it. That dude came up with the ball like he wasn't gonna disappoint. So big props to him. Foster Moreau, I thought was also a bright spot. It really sucks to see that Darren Waller and Devontae Adams, like they they only had a few receptions and didn't have very many yards out of those receptions. Darren got 3 for 22, Devontae 5 for 36. It really, really sucks. Like, we got to find a way to get these guys more involved. Like, I get that the attention is on them, but they're so good that they can handle double teams a lot of times. Like, if I saw the type of emphasis in week one, today, I feel like we would have won because we would have learned from maybe the mistakes of the first game as far as what caused the interceptions, like, underthrowing instead of overthrowing if you're gonna like really mess that pass up. Um, I felt like, you know, this is the time when you gotta like get these guys involved, man, because we should be the ones on their heels. And I felt like the Titans never really felt that way until it was towards the end when, they were trying to play it safe and punt and 4th and 1 and things like that. The Titans were they're a good defense. I wouldn't say they're a great defense. They are definitely teetering to like really above average. They're very physical and all that, but when you got two weapons like that, they can turn that type of play style against the team to cause penalties. Like we saw one, I think it happened on a throw to Darren Waller where he was able to pick up pass interference or or holding. Um, because that's all they could do. They can't handle these guys, especially in those moments where you're looking to get the kill. So Derek and Josh McDaniels need to do a better job of recognizing those things and taking advantage of those things. On defense, um, man, only coming up with one sack sucks. But at the same time, what can you do when you're missing your middle linebacker who could help out with those underneath throws, those checkdowns, because Derrick Henry was kind of killing his team as a receiver and a runner. And so it makes it hard to come up with a sack when you got no idea what's going on. Because it kind of felt that way. But with that being said, I felt like they did a pretty good job of defending the Titans. It's just it kind of sucks that the offense again, like I've been saying, did the defense no favors. Like the time of possession. Yes, I get that they have one of the absolute best running backs that the league has ever seen, but when you hit the ball back, there were certain plays that you guys could have made. There were certain things you guys could have done to keep things going to ensure that you scored every time you. I'm not going to say every time, but you get what I'm saying. Every time you start marching down the field, because we definitely saw it last week against the Cardinals and in that second half where the offense absolutely did the defense zero favors. And I'm still putting it on the offense because there was too many good things that I saw from the defense. You know, Deron Harmon coming up with an interception. He stepped up because what he's filling in for Trayvon, right? And he's over here making a play on the ball, which is great. Max Crosby was a problem for the Titans. The offensive line could not handle this dude whatsoever. But again, what I'm seeing from the defense when it comes to Chandler Jones, because I know that a lot of us are going to be very disappointed yet again that we're not seeing anything being done on his end. I think our defensive coordinator needs to recognize that we need to move this guy around. Him coming on the more difficult assignments is not working. And I think Max could, switch off with him or both of them line up on the same side. They need to do something, man, because Chandler Jones is really long. Because if he's able to penetrate at least with because he has a really long wingspan. That's part of the reason why he was such a legend. So if he's able to help get in there sooner, he can get some pass deflections or something. He can force Ryan Tannehill to just throw an incomplete rather than come up with completions. So, I gotta say, man, this is like 80-20 to me. 20% blame on defense to me, and 80% offense. Maybe that's a little bit too extreme. Maybe not, but I'm definitely interested in hearing what my bro has to say. I'm sure that we share a lot of the same feelings towards certain guys and things about the offense and defense and stuff and the coaching staff. But I really want to hear from you guys. But like I said, be ready for a part 2 later on tonight. So if you are still wanting to talk Raiders, if you want to vent, if you want to talk about what's going on in the league, because we're probably going to do that too, is talk about some of the things that have been going on in the league. But I have no idea how late that part 2 will come out. If it is late, for all you that have trouble sleeping, hey man, tune into us. I want to ask you guys again to like and subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so that way you guys are always notified when we get on. I know that we were supposed to get on midweek, but there was scheduling issues. But we plan on fixing that because we know that consistency is the only thing that will help this channel grow. And if I gotta step up, or if Dylan got to step up, where only one of us can go solo, we will definitely do that from here on out. But I can't wait for this part two to get more into it. I know that this is more of a serious tone that sounds very down and blue and all of that, very heavy information kind of thing. But when we do that part two, hopefully it'll be a little bit lighter and some jokes being cracked, um, and so it'll be a little bit uh, of a better listen than it is with just me riding solo. But like I said, we're gonna definitely be more consistent than what our Raiders have been. I got to throw that low blow in there, but we're gonna definitely do that, and with consistency, you only get better, man. And so thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys a little later on today. But Raider Nation, I hope you guys keep it together, and we all in this together, man. So appreciate you guys. See y'all later, man. Deuces.